بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So we started the history of legislation with the period of the Prophet. That was the first period of the Prophet. First period of the Prophet. And that was from what year to what year?
From -10 to...
No, -10 was not a real time for legislation. Assalamu alaikum, please. It wasn't.
It was from 1 to 13.
Yes, so from 1 to 13. That was the time from 1 to 13H. So that was the first period of the Prophet. And what are the main highlights of this period of legislation during the era of the Prophet? What happened? If someone asks you, what happened to legislation during this period? What would the answer be? In fact, it is not 13. It is the Prophet died 11. No, 11. 11 Hijrah. In Mecca, he stayed 13 years. In Medina, he stayed 10 years. So what are the main highlights, Assalamu alaikum, of that period? What are the main highlights? What happened? What happened to legislation?
Wasn't the Prophet
Okay.
the one that
So how did he legislate? Through what? What were his tools?
went through Hajj?
The first tool, what was the tool of the Prophet during that time? What was the first thing he made to legislate, to introduce the law? What was the first thing? Huh? He explained the Quran. So explained the Quran. He received it and he conveyed it and he explained it thoroughly to the people. So he left no room for doubt in the Quran. Now, if someone tells you, no, listen, the Prophet died, he didn't have much time to explain the Quran. We tell him, but that is wrong because the Quran itself says, إِنَّ عَلَيْنَا جَمْعَهُ السلام عليكم وقرآنه فإذا قرأناه فاتبع قرآنه إن علينا جمعه. It's upon God to gather the Quran and then to teach the Prophet how to recite it. And so it happened. These things happened during the time of the Prophet. The Prophet was endowed with this big responsibility. His biggest responsibility and number one task was to teach the people the Quran before he dies. To teach the ahkam, the rules of the Quran. So that was legislation. And then what did he do after the Quran? How did he support the Quran and explain the Quran? Through what? Huh? Through his sunnah. And the sunnah, it means three things. What are the three things? A, B, and C. Imagine yourself now doing the test, answering the test, imtihan. You have a final now. So what are the sunnah? The sunnah consists of A, B, C. Sayings of the prophets, narrations, sayings, hadith, his narration. This is sunnah. Actions. Whatever he does. And the third one?
What he doesn't say is wrong. If you go in front of him, he does not.
What do you call this? What is the term for this? The English term.
Accept
Consent or approval. When someone does something in front of him and he consents, then this is taqreer. In Arabic is taqreer. Taqreer. This is taqreer. This is fi'l This is qawl. Okay? So this was his sunnah. So he spent a great deal of time, okay, explaining the Quran and supporting the Quran with the sunnah. Why? Because sunnah is considered what to the Quran?
Equal.
You have to fill the gap. In the finals, you're going to receive a paper. It says the sunnah of the Prophet is considered blah 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 to the Quran. So how do you fill that gap? What sentence? What term? Only one term. Just to put one term, no sentence.
Complement.
This exactly. Sunnah is a complement or a supplement to the Quran. Either complement or supplement. Meaning that there are verses that we don't understand their meanings, or they are not thoroughly explained, such as, give me an example. A verse, Quran speaks about only headlines, but not the details. So who teaches me the details? Where did I get the details from? Such as what? Salat. Aqimus salat. Quran says aqimus salat. Quran says, الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. You have to stop before God, okay, with khushu', with humility, with submissiveness. But he doesn't say how many rak'ah. He doesn't say what shall I read in the beginning, in the qiyam. He does not say what shall I say in the ruku' and sujood. These details are explained by the Prophet. The Prophet said to his community, صَلُّوا كَمَا رَأَيْتُمُونِي أُصَلِّي. Perform your prayers the same way you see me performing my prayers. Same thing with Siyam. Siyam, though the Quran says, you know, from dawn till dusk, not dusk, night. In fact, he says night in Surah Al-Baqarah. ثُمَّ أَتِمُّ الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ. Layl. Not dusk. Dusk, this is not our story. Dusk means sunset. But Quran says layl. Layl is when the night falls, so we have to wait a few minutes after the actual sunset. But then the details of Siyam, we really don't know. We don't know what is, you know. We know we don't eat, we don't drink, but how about other things? So this is the Sunnah speaks about that. The Quran speaks about, you know, that stay in Arafat and then move from Arafat to Muzdalifah, فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ عِنْدَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ. But he doesn't speak about the details. Even he doesn't say 7 rounds. He doesn't say, إِنَّ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةَ مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ. He doesn't say, go 7 rounds between Safa and Marwa, or do the circumambulation 7. He speaks about only headlines, but not the details. The details are the job of whom? Huh? Hajj Arish? The Prophet. We are speaking about history of legislation, and the first period, which we studied and finished, the period of the Prophet, about 10 years. So he explained the Quran, the details of the Quran with his Sunnah. So that was a major 10 years, a major construction of the Sunnah. Then after the Prophet passed away, we come to the second period. And in that second period, we had a dichotomy. We had a division. And that is the time, we call it the history of legislation. After the Prophet, the second one, the period of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Okay? And that lasted from 11 until when?
40.
Exactly, ahsant. Until Imam was killed in the month of Ramadan in Masjid al-Kufa. So that one, during these 3 decades, we witness a dichotomy, division. 2 traditions and 2 schools emerged during this period. People were divided into 2 sections. One division, one school is the school or the tradition of what? And this is a tradition of what? Here. So this is the right, this is the left. Who were on this tradition, the right tradition? Tradition of what? School of what? No. What do we call the name, the process? Yes, it is followed by Ahlul Bayt. But what was the feature of this school? Not the followers or the advocates. What was the feature of it? The textual. النص مدرسة النص مدرسة النص. Why do you forget, my friends? Before you come to the class, look at the previous week's note. So this one, Madrasatul Nas, and versus Madrasatul what? The tradition, Madrasatul Ahsant, Al-Ra'i, which is opinion. Tradition of opinion and the tradition of the text. Ra'i. So who are the advocates of this? Imam Ali and his followers, and we call it the tradition of Ahlul Bayt. And who are the advocates of this tradition, the opinion? The school of Sahaba, okay? Companions, or some historians call it what? Because some companions were here, okay? So some people call it what? Companions or khulafa, madrasatul khulafa. Madrasatul khulafa, the caliphs. Caliphs, okay? Especially the first and the second caliph. But mostly the second one. Mostly this. The hero of this school, the mastermind of this school is the second caliph, as I am going to explain to you. And this tradition lasted until today, 1400 years. We have two main schools when it comes to legislation. A school that says we stick to the text. What is meant by the text, my friends? What is the text? Quran and a hadith, Sunnah of the Prophet and the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Okay? The other one says we look at the situation, we assess the situation, and we may give our own opinion regardless of what the text says. If it matches the text, it's good. But even sometimes if it clashes with the text, then because we are present, we know what is good and bad for the people. This is their argument. So this school sticks to the nas, no ijtihad. There is no reasoning. There is no personal opinion. If we have the Quran explains and the Prophet comes and really he delves into the issue and gives me the answer, then I have no right to give my personal opinion. Why? Because ijtihad is dalil, an evidence that is not what?
It's not qat'i, it's not.
Not real, not qat'i. Okay? Not certain. It's a process. It's a process. You follow this path. You may reach, you may not reach. Ijtihad. You may reach, you may not reach. Whereas the opinion, whereas the nas, it's a path that you follow and you reach. Dalil what? This is dalil, ijtihad. This is based on ijtihad. This school of opinion, ra'i, opinion, is based primarily on ijtihad, personal opinion, my personal opinion. Or sometimes qiyas, analogy, comparison between this case and that case. So I know a case similar which has an answer. There is a case B which does not have an answer. So I borrow the answer from case A because these cases are similar. What is the danger in this? In borrowing the answer of A, give it to B. Huh? Because sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't work. And we gave many examples. That yes, they look similar. but the verdict is different. Like salat and siyam, like murder and fornication. Which is worse, Arash? Murder or fornication? Which one is worse? Both of them are both. Huh? Habibi, Arash? Which one is worse? Both of them are bad, but which one is worse? Murder or fornication? Murder, of course, murder. How many witnesses we need for the murder? So if the murder is worse than fornication, how many witnesses we need for murder? You are a lawyer, you must know. Two, adil, just not anyone from the street. Someone who has a credibility and we know he's honest, he doesn't lie. Two, okay? How many we need for fornication? Four. Why? If fornication needs 4, then murder should need 10. 10 witnesses, not 2 witnesses. I don't know why. God said so. And it is mentioned in the Quran. I can't play with the numbers. So sometimes qiyas, analogy, comparison does not work. Doesn't work. Okay? Or the other thing that they depend on, ijtihad, their ijtihad, beside qiyas is what? You have to write them down, my friends. Qiyas. We said qiyas last time. What is qiyas in English? Analogy or comparison. What is the other one? Which is similar to qiyas. And they use it istihsan. Istihsan. Meaning, istihsan means what, my friend? Who can help me with meaning of istihsan?
So they add things in there that they feel is doing good.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Something makes sense. So I change the law because it makes sense. Makes sense to me, huh? To me. Makes sense to me. I understand it. Wow, I like it. I admire it. Then I change the law. This is istihsan. Istihsan is one of the principles of lawmaking in the Sunni tradition. Istihsan. If you find a way that makes people's life, let's say, much easier, then khalas. One of the istihsans that the second caliph did is what? In the adhan. Khayrul amal during the time of Uthman, third caliph. During the time of the second caliph, what did he add to the adhan? Khayrul amal, hayya ala khayrul amal happened during the time of Uthman. Okay? He said, don't say hayya ala khayrul amal to the prayers. Once you say hayya ala khayrul amal, then khayrul amal means the best deed, the best action. So people stay in the mosque. They don't go to jihad. So we should remove it. So they removed it during the time of the third caliph. But the second caliph, he also did some alteration.
But now,
Huh?
the sleep, the
Ahsan. As-salatu khayrun min an-nawm. His ghulam, his servant came, he was asleep in his bed, and it was approaching Salatul Fajr. The Fajr was raised, the adhan of Fajr. Somehow the Khalifa didn't, though the sound, is, he's next to the masjid, so he should hear the adhan, but he didn't. Maybe he was too tired. So the servant came and he woke him up and he said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, it's time for Salat. As-salatu khayrun min an-nawm. This is his servant said. Prayers is better than sleep. So he woke up and he said, wow, what a good sentence. Put this in the adhan from tomorrow. Adhan al-Fajr, put this sentence. So this is istihsan. He liked the sentence. Makes sense, yeah? Salatu khair. This is why even the rhythm, it doesn't go with the rest of the adhan. If you are an Arab person and you are familiar with Arab literature, when they say mu'adhin, as-salatu khairun, no, something wrong. It's different from the rhythm. This is odd. This is a strange sentence. If you understand the Arabic literature, you realize that as-salatu khayrun min an-nawm is out of place. It's not part of the adhan. Okay? So this is also istihsan. He liked it. The other istihsan he did, what was it? We spoke about it last week. That one, but then we can call it istihsan. Istihsan. He did introduce the jama'ah in the nawafil of the month of Ramadan. performing the nawafil as congregational prayers, group prayers. Whereas the nawafil has to be done individually, not in jama'ah. This is the sunnah of the Prophet. And then they called it Taraweeh because they have to take a rest, raha, rest. So they called the whole prayers. It was nicknamed later on Taraweeh. Okay? Taraweeh comes from taking a rest in between the prayers. So that was also was istihsan because he said, I don't like this. Well, what is this? Some people are standing, some people prostrating, some people, sitting. I don't like this. I like people to be organized. The movement has to be. This is istihsan. Whereas the Prophet didn't do this. Same thing with the first caliph. So this is the features of this school. So the school of Nas. What are the strict sources of the school of Nas? I'm going to ask you in the final, Take me serious here. Madrasatun Nas depends on what? On two things. Write it down. On two things. The sources of this school are two things. What are they? Number one, Quran, and number two, Sunnah. Say Quran and Sunnah because hadith, Khanun Fadili. When you say hadith is only saying. Whereas Sunnah encompasses the three things. Sayings, actions, and consent. Okay, so say always Sunnah. So Quran and Sunnah are the sources. Okay, what are the sources of this school? Quran, say after me, Quran, Sunnah, and what else? Personal opinion, Ra'i. So this is the difference. So here, Sister Najat, here the sources of this school, the sources, main sources, Quran and Sunnah. Here, Quran, Sunnah, and personal opinion. And personal opinion. Now, here they use the Quran and the Sunnah to practice the process of what? Fill the gap. They use, Quran and Sunnah are used under this tradition by those people for the process of what?
Derivation.
Legislation or ijtihad. Ijtihad, the derivation of the law. Within. Remember, always within. Within, this is very important. Within Quran and Sunnah, they do ijtihad. Within the boundaries of Quran Sunnah. Whereas this one, sometimes within and sometimes outside. Outside. Sometimes within, of course, sometimes within. And sometimes outside the boundaries of Quran and Sunnah. Outside. And sometimes what? What else? What should I put in this box here? Against, ahsant. Against, sometimes against. This is very important, These features, you have to write them, You have to memorize them by heart. This tradition says, listen, I am not going to stride outside Quran and Sunnah. I'm not going to stride. Even until today, our fuqaha, when they give an answer, he says, this is not me. I found this in the Sunnah, the Hadith. Now, sometimes they argue among them, this Hadith is acceptable, that Hadith is not acceptable. This is an argument. However, nobody of them dare to bring an answer out of his own personal opinion. Whereas here, it could be within the Quran and Sunnah, and it could be outside, and sometimes it could be against. Umar ibn al-Khattab used to teach his governors, when he sent governors to remote areas, because they don't see him. When you send someone from Medina to Basra, how often you see him? Once in 10 years. You don't see him every day. No taxes, no WhatsApp. By the way, you have to restore your WhatsApp, You must. You and put Khalid also, because he was asking me. He needs to know what is going on. So at that time, khalas, when you see the Khalifa, you ride your camel and you see him maybe, or you don't even see him after 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. So he would tell them that, if you find the answer in the Quran, use the Quran. If not, use your own opinion. He would encourage them to use their own opinion. And this was a very dangerous business. Because deen is called deen, tariq. Why? Huh? وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ. The author of this deen, the lawmaker of this is why the name of God is what? What do we call him? What do we call him in fiqh? The name of God. Shari'. Shari' is what? Sa'id? What is shari' in Arabic? Shari' is road in Arabic. But in the formal literature, what is the shari'? Is lawmaker. Shari' is law. Shari' from Sharia. So the shari' is God. Ash-shari' al-muqaddas. So if people are supposed to make their own laws, then they are not following the shari'. And God says, this is where God threaten people against legislation. Let me read few verses of what God says. وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ عِنْدِ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ لَوَجَدُوا فِيهِ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. If this book, the Quran, and what is in the Quran had been coming from other than God, they would have seen in it much conflict and clashing. اختلافا كثيرا. But because it's from God, it's pure. There is no clash. There is no discrepancies. Okay? And then God says, in my book, if you read my book, you can find the answer. If you are not lazy, if you are intelligent, if you really exert your effort, definitely you will find the answer. ما فرطنا في الكتاب من شيء. We left nothing out of this book. All the answers are there. All the answers that the humanity needs, the halal, the haram, and others, they can find them in the book. ما فرطنا في الكتاب. The book is very comprehensive. In another verse, God says, write the translation. فيه تبيان كل شيء. In this book, there is tibyan, explanation, and elucidation, tibyan, elucidation or explanation of literally everything in this book. But you need an expert to find it. You can't just find it if you don't understand the Quran. You need an expert.
You said elucidation, what was the other?
Explanation. Okay? And then in another ayah, وَلَا رَطْبٍ وَلَا يَابِسٍ حَمِدَغَا إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. There is no dry or wet thing, meaning this is a metaphor that everything, no dry, no wet, neither dry. وَلَا رَطْبٍ وَلَا يَابِسٍ إِلَّا except that has been recorded في كتاب مبين in the Holy Quran. So don't tell me I could not find the answer in the Quran. The Quran has the answer. The Quran has answer for everything. And therefore, Umar was saying to his governors, وَمَا لَمْ يَتَبَيَّنْ لَكَ فِي السُّنَّةِ فَاجْتَهِدْ فِيهِ بِرَأْيِكَ. This is he would tell him. He appointed Shuraih al-Qadi. Shuraih, his name was Shuraih, the Chief Justice. He was Chief Justice. So he sent him to Kufa. And he said to Shuraih, and Shuraih had a problem, unfortunately. So he said to him, if you find the answer, he's Chief Justice, so he has to give the verdict. He has to judge. He said to him, انظر ما يتبين لك في كتاب الله فلا تسأل عنه أحدا. If you find the answer in the book of God, don't ask anyone else. وما لم يتبين لك فاتبع فيه سنة رسول الله. If you don't find it in the book, in the Quran, then follow the sunnah of the Prophet. وما لم يتبين لك في السنة فاجتهد فيه برأيك. If you don't find it in the sunnah, then bring your opinion. Use your opinion. It's impossible if someone is a scholar, he cannot find the answer either in the Quran or the Sunnah. Impossible. Impossible. Quran and the Sunnah, they give you, even today, with the most complicated issues, traveling outside the earth, with all these developments, technologies, with these medical, medical resolutions and medical treatments that they do. Everything you search for is found within the Quran and the Sunnah. But you need an intelligent scholar, a scholar who has a history of studies to find the answer. Everything is found there. You don't need. So therefore, ijtihad, what is the meaning of ijtihad here and what is the meaning of ijtihad there? What is the difference? I want one of you to explain that to me. Yes, Saeed. Ijtihad here, what does it mean?
Ijtihad there is scholarly opinion. It consists of scholarly opinion and consensus versus ijtihad there.
One. Here, scholarly opinion, okay? Of your own self, your own taste, your own mizaj,
Yeah.
or ijtihad, I am using my intelligence to get the law from there.
Yes, yeah. So ijtihad.
So I am not a lawmaker in this case. In this case, I am mujtahid, but not a lawmaker.
Yeah.
Lawmaker is here, Allah Ta'ala. I'm trying to get the answer from God, from the Prophet. And sometimes I do good, okay? I hit the target and I get the right answer. Sometimes I do my best, but unfortunately I get the wrong answer. I'm not a lawmaker. So ijtihad in the school of Ahlul Bayt does not mean legislation or making law. It's not. Whereas here, what does it mean here, ijtihad?
It can simply boil down to personal opinion.
If I don't find the answer, no worries. I can give my personal opinion. Through what? Through istihsan, through qiyas, through masalih al-mursala, through this, through that. I can find ways because God will forgive me because I have to bring an answer. So there is an emphasis here on studying. 20 years, 25 years sometimes to be mujtahid. Here, 4 years. You go to Azhar, 4 years, then you become mujtahid. You give fatwa. Enjoy your time.
That's 4 years?
Yeah. You study, you graduate, it's a college, it's a university, 4 years. Then he becomes a mujtahid. Whereas here, no, 4 years are not enough. Not enough. You need to study the Quran and the Sunnah, you need to spend time, you need to train yourself, you need to debate with the scholars. It's not enough. Here, no. Here you go to a college, just like UC Irvine, 4 years, you study, you are a mujtahid, you are faqih. That is the difference. Why? Because this one depends on personal opinion. You can give your personal opinion. This one, it's dangerous to give your personal opinion. It's really dangerous. So you must study. You must become, as Iranians say, mullah. Real mullah. Mullah in the past, now it's cheap. This meaning is cheap. It had been cheapened. But in the past, when they say someone mullah, it means he's a philosopher. He's a genius. He's a real scholar. Mullah Sadra, see, 400 years ago, the biggest iconic figure in philosophy, Mullah Sadra Shirazi, they call him Mullah Sadra. Now, mullah means he recites, chanting, and then he leaves. So this is the difference between this school and that school. Any question before we go to the next?
One quick question.
Yes.
For the tradition of the text, I believe you mentioned a hadith from, I believe it was the fifth Imam, that it said somebody had approached him and said, "Is it true that there is no matter that can be?"
Yeah.
And he affirmed yes.
Yes.
The Quran.
Yes.
That response from the Imam, does that apply to our mujtahids, or is that only fully applicable to the Imams themselves?
The Imams are unique because Imams, their knowledge is from grandfather,
Right.
not through school.
Right.
They did not go to conventional schools, pen and paper, and his mentor was only his father,
Right.
the Imam before him. So that does not apply to those. Those current mujtahid, contemporary mujtahid, they have to go to school.
Right.
The answer that the Imam gives you is the most accurate answer, perfect answer, 100%.
Right, yeah.
Whereas the answer of the mujtahid,
Yeah.
يحتمل الصحة والخطأ. It has a possibility of being correct and being not correct. Okay, that is the difference. Because Imam does not use his ijtihad. The Prophet doesn't use his ijtihad. Imam Ali does not use his ijtihad. They understand the Quran and the Sunnah. Whereas the mujtahid today, they use their ijtihad. So the Imams, they use the nas, the exact text. Whereas the mujtahid today, they use their ijtihad to understand this. And the difference between someone who understands the nas is that his dalil, his evidence is what? Qat'i, certain. Whereas the one who derives it from this, still though he derives it from the source, but he can make some mistakes in his understanding. So his dalil is dhanni, is not qat'i, is dhanni. He is a mujtahid, he's mullah, he's genius, but it doesn't mean that he's 100%, 100% correct. Therefore, my friends, those people, the followers of this group, the Madrasa of Khulafa, they used to accuse Imam Ali that Imam Ali la ra'ya lahu. He's not a man of opinion. He doesn't have an opinion. Whereas Imam Ali said, not that I don't have an opinion. I have to stick to the text, to the nas. Not that I'm not intelligent. I'm intelligent. But I am handcuffed with what? With the nas. I can't go against it. I was at a place this past weekend and far from here, maybe 3,000 miles away. So we were in a meeting and some of them were pressing me to give them an answer vis-a-vis some issues. Let's say attending a mixed wedding where there is men and women are mixed. Or some of women, they wanted to press me to give them a favorable answer, favorable to them, regarding wearing makeup. They would say that I have to wear makeup. I can't leave my house. Something, something inside me, part of my personality, part of my appearance. I can't leave the house. Like, for instance, us, we can't leave the house unclothed. We have to, dress, get dressed. So give us an answer. I said, how can I give you? I can't. Religion is not, I can, manipulate religion, give you this and to please you. I can't. I'm handcuffed. So not that I'm not intelligent, I don't know how to speak. I know, but I'm handcuffed with nas, with text. When the text says don't do this, khalas. I wish I can help you, but I can't. I wish I can make life easier for you and please you so you go out with full makeup. But I can't. One day I said in the mosque, if it was left for us, human being, we would say to all women, throw the hijab over. Throw, khalas. But it's not up to us. It's not up to us. So they accused Imam Ali, la ra'ya lahu, a person that doesn't have an opinion. Why? Because Imam Ali was conservative. Imam Ali said, I'm not going to, stride outside this, the nas of the Prophet, the Quran, and my teacher, the Prophet. Whatever they say, we have to. Even Taraweeh, my friends, it looks beautiful and nice, doesn't it? When you go to the masjid, an imam, memorizer of the Quran, hafiz, he recites and they do ruku' and sujood with him. After 1 hour, they go home. It makes sense, huh? It makes sense. However, the Prophet said, no, we should not do it. Why? Because this is a special prayers between you and God. So you need to take your time. You need to be private. We have 2 types of conversations. One, conversation in public. In public, it's formal. We know. We know the timing of it. We know the amount. We know everything. And we have the private conversation. It has to be private, without interference. Therefore, the Prophet, when he used to do the public conversation, which is the salat, congregational prayers, they say in his ahwal, in his tradition, he would do it fast and easy. Why? To consider the weak, the sick, women, children, others, So he wouldn't prolong his prayers. He would recite short verses, short ruku', short sujood, so people can finish their prayers and go. But when he used to do the private conversation, nawafil in his home, he will take his time in his ruku' and his sujood, because this is a private. That is the philosophy of nawafil. So don't turn the private into public. Public has its own significance, okay? And the private also is needed. Don't make the nawafil in the month of Ramadan in public in the mosque. Let people have some sincerity, dedication. They want to do it their own way. They want to do longer ruku', longer sujood. You know, this is the philosophy of why the nawafil is not done in jama'ah. Whereas the congregational, the 5 daily prayers are recommended to do that in jama'ah. But the nawafil, no. Because we have to segregate between the private sphere and the public one. Each one has its own need, its own meaning, its own significance. They should not clash with each other. Okay? Same thing, another one which was changed by Umar ibn al-Khattab based on istihsan. We said that the divorce, the 3 strikes divorce. We said this last week. 3-strike divorce. The divorce used to be in a 3 periods, separated periods. So, God forbids, if someone is married and he agreed with his wife to get divorce, he divorces her one time. And the divorce has to be in front of whom? Witnesses, adil witnesses, not in a private, not just him and her. There needs to be witnesses witnessing this. And adil, they have to be adil. And then they go through what we call it, after divorce immediately begins, iddah. Iddah is what, Saeed?
That's the waiting period, right?
Waiting period, okay? Waiting period means that during this 3 months or less, they can return to each other without nikah. Whenever they decide, mutual of course, not one-sided, mutual. It has to be mutual. So they can go back to each other. They don't need to go through nikah, okay? But once the iddah is over, if they want to go back to each other, they need to do what? Nikah. Now, let's say the first iddah is over, or it's not over. They did return to each other during the iddah, during the period, waiting period. Then again, the man gets, as usual, crazy again, and he divorces his wife the 2nd time. And then he divorces her the 3rd time. After the 3rd time, as a punishment for the man, if he wants to retrieve his wife back, she has to go and marry someone else. This is a verse in the Quran, very clear verse.
And she has full thought too?
Yes. She has to go after the 3rd time. It's in the Quran. حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ. She cannot go back to him unless she marries another man. And if that man divorces her, then she can go back to her husband. Omar made it very speedy process. He said, you don't have to divorce your wife 3 times during 3 different times. You can divorce her 1 time and she becomes haram on you. 1 time. You come home and you tell her, طالق, طالق, طالق. 3 times. Khalas, she cannot come back to you. This is based on this istihsan. Why? Because he said the reason. They asked him, wait, what are you doing? The Quran says, he said, no, but nowadays the talaq is rampant, became very popular, and God wanted to make it, give them some respite so they think about their relationship, but people don't want to think about their relationship. People want to get rid of each other, so let me make it easy for them. So they can divorce 3 times with 3 strikes, not 3 different times, in 1 session, in 1 minute. 3 times they say طالق طالق طالق, or you are طالق thrice, بالثلاث thrice. خلاص, they make the sentence very short. And that's it. The wife cannot go back to her husband unless she marries someone else. Exactly against. See, against
Yeah.
to what the Quran says. Not the hadith, the Quran.
Yes, yeah.
Quran. Okay? Any questions here? He changed a lot. One of them is the mut'a marriage. Mut'a, many Sahaba of the Jabir ibn Abdullah, he said, they came to him, they said, Jabir, come on, tell us, what is this temporary marriage halal or haram? He said, well, what is haram? We did mut'a during the time of the Prophet, during the time of Abu Bakr, and even part of the time of this caliph, Umar. And he stopped it, he banned it. And he himself says, mut'atan. Two types of mut'a. I'm going to explain that to you. One of them is marriage, temporary marriage. It's called mut'a because the Quran says, فَمَا اسْتَمْتَعْتُمْ بِهِ سورة النساء فَمَا اسْتَمْتَعْتُمْ بِهِ فَآتُوهُنَّ أُجُورَهُنَّ فَرِيضَةً. Give them their dowry. So this is mut'a, which was banned by Umar. The marriage, temporary marriage. It was banned. The second mut'a, وَمُتْعَةُ الْحَجِّ. Umar says, مُتْعَتان كَانَتَا عَلَى عَهْدِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. Two types of mut'a did exist during the time of the Prophet. وَأَنَا أُحَرِّمُهُمَا. I am the one who is going to forbid them. وَأُعَاقِبُ عَلَيْهِمَا. And I am going to punish. If I hear someone did this, I'm going to punish him. Number one, mut'atun nisa, the temporary marriage, is banned. And mut'atul hajj. So are you aware with the first one, mut'atun nisa? What is mut'atul hajj? What is mut'atul hajj, my friends? Nobody knows. Wow. Huh? Huh? No. Not having mut'a during. No, this is something completely different. Mut'atun nisa is the temporary marriage. Okay? This is temporary marriage. Mut'atul hajj is, hajj consists of two parts. What are they? The lesser hajj and the bigger hajj. Umrah and hajj. Umratul tamattu and hajjul tamattu. Okay? When you go to hajj, you have two things. Umratul tamattu, number one. Second, hajjul tamattu. Umrah is when you enter Mecca, you have to have ihram and you have to do umrah. Umrah consists of tawaf, prayers of tawaf, sa'i, tawafun nisa, prayers of tawafun nisa, and then you cut. After sa'i, you cut your hair, you exit. So the umrah is done within 2 hours, this one, or 3 hours. But this one, 4 days. Now there is a period between this and this. So you come to Mecca, you arrive in Mecca, let's say on the 1st of the Hijjah. Hajj begins on the 8th. In fact, the real Hajj begins on the 9th, the day of Arafat. But people leave Mecca to Arafat on the 8th. So you have 7 days from the 1st until the 8th. You have 7 days. In this 7 days, you throw the ihram. You don't keep the ihram on. Because once you do the umrah, khalas, the ihram is done. You go back to civilian clothes. You wait in Mecca, you rest, you go to Masjid al-Haram, you read Quran. You can do mustahab tawaf, but with this dress. Not in the state of ihram. Not in the state of consecration. Until you wear the ihram on the 8th, usually in the evening, and you go to Arafat. And then you finish by the 12th. So it's from the 8th to the 12th. This is the Hajj al-Tamattu. So during this week, this is 1 week from the 1st until the 8th, about 7 days. You are free. You have a break between Umrah and Hajj. The Prophet gave permission to the Muslims to have a relationship with their wives. If they have wives with them, to have a relationship, normal, just like you are at home. Umar came and he said, no, this is not good. You're coming to Hajj, to Mecca, you have to forget about everything. So I'm going to forbid the relationship between the man and his permanent wife. His permanent wife. With him, he shouldn't do anything until we finish until the 12th, and then you are free. This is the second type of thing that Umar did ban. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد.